I am an interior designer. I call the architect, who calls the contractor. We all call the landscaper because we're all obsessed with plants right now,
Mm-hmm.
but all day we're working in tandem and in a circle. So I thought everyone needs to be involved here. Like, what does it matter if I spend all my time trying to source responsibly and bill my clients maybe a little extra for these efforts, which we can talk about because that's a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
if the contractor just goes in and throws everything in the landfill anyway. So like, why did we do that? We really need to close the gap, like close the whole circle.
Welcome to Home Green Homes Podcast. I am Izumi Tanaka, a green home advisor and a green realtor. Here I invite a variety of experts in the world of green homes and have conversations about how we can all live in healthy, resilient, and efficient homes. My guests provide insight in a wide range of topics, from designing, building, and living in green homes, purchasing or financing green homes and improvements, to how we can live to reduce the negative environmental impact from the way we live. My goal is to inspire and inform you about how we can make a difference in our own lives and our environment. Hello everyone, this is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Katie Storey. She is the founder of the Good Future Design Alliance, and that title itself is very intriguing, isn't it? And so I'm going to have Katie tell us all about it. But Katie, first, tell us, first of all, who you are and what your background is, which is quite fascinating. And then you can tell us about the Good Future Design Alliance.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat about this. So yes, I'm an interior designer based here in San Francisco. I've had my firm for about 10 years, and we do mainly residential interiors, renovations, furniture, kitchen, bath, remodels, things like that. We also do some commercial work, more of that before COVID, but we still do some amount of it. And so I'm based here. I have a small team. I'm also the founder of the Good Future Design Alliance, which is an alliance of design and build professionals who are committed to reducing their waste over 50% over 5 years, which I think we're going to get into a little more what that actually means.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually through my design practice that I realized I needed to start the Good Future Design Alliance to do something about the massive waste problem we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me more about the massive waste, because one of the things that really intrigued me is that you said that you needed to start a movement or change career. I mean, that's a pretty intense sort of a, crossroad, it feels to me like. So tell me how you got to that.
Sure. Yeah. And I guess that does sound kind of intense, but it's the honest truth. It's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I've been designing in San Francisco for about 10 years. And maybe in year 7 or 8, I had this real epiphany when two things happened kind of within a couple of weeks of each other. I think that's how epiphanies go. They, like, a lot of big things happen kind of at the same time, and you finally clue into what the bigger story is here. But the first was that I ordered a sofa in Oakland that ended up going to North Carolina to a distribution warehouse before coming back to San Francisco to end up in my client's living room. And so from Oakland to San Francisco is 7 miles over a bridge. It's an easy trek. I mean, even in traffic, it's like not that hard to do. And it's 6,000 miles less than going from Oakland to North Carolina back to San Francisco. So that was kind of the first thing. This sofa was missing for months, or probably weeks. And I was like, where is it? So I called the distribution center and they said, oh yeah, it's in North Carolina. You'll be getting it soon. So I was so upset of like, why would a sofa go across the country when it didn't need to? So that was kind of the first thing. I was thinking about all of the like packaging materials needed, all of the emissions created through traveling across the country, just all of that extra unnecessary waste, which really infuriated me. Then, sure enough, like the next week, we were on one of our commercial installs, which was about 20,000 square feet. So, as you can imagine, like hundreds, probably closer to thousands of items that we needed to install for this startup, and thousands of items that the startup wanted to get rid of, right? Where they were like, out with the old, in with the new. So it was like this huge total revamp. But instead of being able to see like all the beauty and these products that I had designed and built, I just saw piles and piles of waste. Packaging materials, boxes, styrofoam, plastic, even like the outside concrete planters came wrapped in that cellophane plastic. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I did. I and my like 2-3 person team created this much waste. So if I can do this, imagine what the bigger issue is here. So those were like the epiphany moments. And then I started looking into that bigger question of like, what is going on? Like my footprint extrapolated across an industry, what is that? And thanks to the EPA and a few other organizations, I found out that 500 million tons of construction and demo debris every year is thrown into the landfills in the US. And of that, 12.2 million tons of furniture is thrown into the landfill. So that's just in the US. So that's an enormous amount. And then on a global level, in the US, we are consuming twice as much as the planet can sustain. There's this amazing website called Earth Overshoot Day. You should definitely check it out. You put in like your country and it'll tell you how much we're consuming. And we all know Americans are huge consumers. So we're way, I think the Earth Overshoot Day was like in May last year. It used to be like August and it's creeping up. So that means by May, we've already used up all the resources for the year. So those three facts, the 500 million tons, 12.2 million tons, and then consuming 2 times what the earth can sustain just basically made me have a meltdown, and I was like, oh no, I either have to switch careers again because design is my second career. And I don't really want to switch careers. I love designing. I love the power and joy that design brings me. I mean, we get to create all these spaces. We get to influence a lot of the way people live. What a privilege. But I knew it needed to be done in a different way. As I mentioned, I live in San Francisco. Like we have an e-bike, we live responsibly, we shop at the farmer's market, no plastic, all that stuff I was doing in my personal life, like many of your listeners probably. But because of the way this industry was built, literally, we consume at this rate that like we don't even realize. The whole industry is built on consumption, replacing things every few years. New trends come out every quarter. Like this, now it's boucle. Last month it was terracotta. Before that, terrazzo. Like trends change so quickly. Super fascinating and stimulating for the design eye, but not great for the planet.
So you created the Good Future Design Alliance. What is your vision for this alliance, and how is it going? I know that I just love this. I just love this line that you have on your website. It says, "We are forging a radical new path." And as you say, I have been very much aware of the ways that the constructions and even in, like you said, in the designing projects, there's always a lot of pile of waste. So how are you doing? What's your vision of your alliance?
Yeah, great. So the Good Future Design Alliance is what stemmed out or what came out of that frustration. The sofa that I was telling you about, the install, I said, oh my gosh, I don't want to switch careers. What can I do? So I gathered a group of founding members here in San Francisco, architecture, design firms. I went to them and said, hey, we're colleagues. I don't have all the answers, but I have this idea that I want to start a movement to bring attention and awareness to this greater issue, and then provide resources to anyone who's interested. So that led to the official creation of the Good Future Design Alliance, which is an alliance for design and build professionals. So that's anyone, an interior designer, an architect, general contractor, a landscaper, or manufacturer can join. And that was a very intentional move, because for many of your listeners will know that every day, like, I am an interior designer. I call the architect, who calls the contractor. We all call the landscaper, because we're all obsessed with plants right now, but all day we're working in tandem and in a circle. So I thought everyone needs to be involved here. Like, what does it matter if I spend all my time trying to source responsibly and bill my clients maybe a little extra for these efforts, which we can talk about because that's a big part of it, if the contractor just goes in and throws everything in the landfill anyway? So like, why did we do that? We really need to close the gap, like close the whole circle. So anyone in the industry is welcome to join. And whether you're a one-person firm or a 500-person firm, we welcome you to come. And whether you're doing a lot of initiatives already to be low waste and sustainable, or if you're doing zero, we don't really care, because we will meet you wherever you are. So if somebody wants to join, they make this commitment to reduce their waste, pay their annual fee, which is based on the firm size. And then in exchange for that fee, we give you kind of like a 10-step toolkit with everything you would need to start making progress on your low waste journey. So it's like where to shop, how to get rid of things, redistribute things, not just throw them in the landfill, but creative ways to distribute, ways to talk to your clients, networking events, educational things, all kinds of that.
Now, did you do all the footwork of providing all that resource yourself, and you and your founding members? I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. So the short answer is yes. So we came up with this list of like, what are the top 10 things that would be really valuable to people? Well, I knew that I needed help convincing clients why to buy sustainably. So I needed some talking points. I needed to know where to source. I needed to have a quick list of who to call when I have a house full of furniture. I needed to know who the refinishing groups were. So we kind of came up with that top 10 list, and then we started filling in the answers. And so, yes, we did all the work.
Yeah, but so you're in San Francisco, and I know that your founding members were all from San Francisco, but I see that your membership is now all over. It's not just San Francisco Bay Area. It's national, or is it global?
No, it's just national. Although we have some Canadians and some Europeans. Not many, but technically we're global, but the focus is definitely
right
here.
So how did you get the information where you're not familiar with? There, if it's an East Coast, all those resources would be different, right?
Yes, great point. So we started in San Francisco. We created the toolkit for San Francisco. We launched it. We currently have about 100 firms in San Francisco who have committed. But then we were like, oh, okay, well, maybe there actually is legs to this movement. And we got some interest in Colorado. So we started a chapter there. And then we started a chapter in Seattle. And we have 3 to 4 more chapters coming up in the next year. New York, Los Angeles, where I think you are, right? Or nearby there, at least. And so what happens in that scenario is we find a founding member group for that chapter. So 2 to 3 individuals, design professionals who want to take on the leadership role and help us understand where to shop locally, how to redistribute locally, because Yes, we can do that with the help of Google and good researchers, but the real local value comes in having a local chapter.
Yes.
I always say that anyone across the country can join the GFDA, and 80 to 90% of the resources are applicable right away, like from day one. But it's that extra 10 to 20% that you really get out of having like a local chapter, because there'll be networking events, there'll be group happy hours, there'll be local resources, things like that. So we're really using a localized approach as we build networks across the country.
Yes, that's really wonderful. It's really a movement, and what's really amazing is that you grew this in such a short period. How many years has it been, and how many members do you have now?
Yeah, we started in January of 2020. We had a launch event on January 15th. And then I think early March, we all went into lockdown. So it
Right.
was the worst time ever. We've had
Yeah.
one in-person event
Hmm.
successfully. So it's been about 2.5 years. We have about 200 firms signed on. Majority of those are in San Francisco, but then
Hmm.
Colorado, Seattle, and a handful of other locations too.
Hmm. But that's really a great sign, though, that there are people interested in the industry who are really conscious about this whole issue of, generating waste or reducing waste. And how is it how, like you mentioned earlier, how are the clients responding to this effort? Have you had any resistance? What is it like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't had resistance so much.
Mm-hmm.
I have had um, I haven't had straight up resistance. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
saying not interested. I've had a few people say, "Oh, refinishing that sofa is going to cost the same as a brand new sofa. So why don't I just get a brand new sofa?" And then I have to do the whole workaround of like, well, you're saving your current sofa has good lip bones, and we could just
Mm-hmm.
get a great new fabric. There's lots of talking points. I don't always win those battles. Like, unfortunately, we are there's a huge mountain to climb here,
Mm-hmm.
and like there aren't enough furniture refinishers in the Bay Area who can compete at a lower price point than some of these fast furniture places, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what we're up against. But I will say, so it's not always easy. I realize it is hard, and some clients are just like, give me everything new, I don't care. That's probably not quite the right client for me
Mm-hmm.
or some of
Mm-hmm.
our members. There are plenty of those
Mm-hmm.
people out there, plenty of designers who aren't interested in their
Right.
waste footprint. So that's
Right.
fine. But for members and myself, um, I'm actually finding, and I've heard this from quite a few members, that more and more clients are coming to us for what we stand for,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a movement that we're leading, like as designers, but anyone alive today knows that we're in a crisis state, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy a new home or want to make it more livable and better, but you need to be aware of your impact. And so I
Exactly.
actually have almost all the clients who are calling me today are wondering how we can do things in a more sustainable way, which is great.
That's very encouraging to hear. But how
Mhm.
are they finding you? How are they getting to know about Good Future Design Alliance? You're not necessarily advertising.
No, we're not. We're just on Instagram.
Hmm.
I have it on my website because
Hmm.
anyone who joins gets a logo, gets all the marketing materials, so they can put it on their social and websites. So it's just kind of that way. But no, we're not doing any like big advertising
Hmm.
at this point.
Hmm. But it's basically word of mouth referrals and people to people talking about like all the good that you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's very encouraging, isn't it?
It is. It feels great. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't want to I want to be honest about how far we have to go. This is like pushing a boulder uphill, because again, everything about the industry is based on consumption, new trends, turning over. The whole business model for many interior designers is the more you purchase, the more you can mark up, right? The more you purchase, the greater your trade discount becomes, which means you can mark up more. So the whole incentivization process is towards like completely lacks or like completely omits the planet. And what we're trying to do is like raise awareness around the issue and eventually really start shifting those business models and really pressuring companies, big retailers to stop using styrofoam, stop using so much plastic, use compostable bags, have a buyback program, have a fix-it program, those kinds of things, which aren't necessarily new, but with enough people demanding that from within the industry, we think we can make a difference.
I agree. And how do you envision what's to come for you? Like you said you have a good number of members in San Francisco area, Seattle, Colorado. What would you say to people out there who are designers, architects, and builders, contractors? You know, what you can offer. How can we encourage people to come join you?
Yeah. I would say that we offer a few things with the GFDA. We offer an instant community. So even if we don't have a chapter yet in your area, there are 200 other firms already across the country who are saying like, I want something more. I want to do business differently. And thanks to COVID, we're pretty adept at doing online educational things. We do monthly Q&As. We have all kinds of online resources for anyone who wants to immediately come in. We also, so you're instantly connected to a community. And secondly, you're instantly given access to a toolkit with a lot of information. And what I always say is like, it's the anticipation of joining something like this and making change is harder than actually joining and making the change. It's like a 30-day diet or a 30-day cleanse or something, right? You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do it? It's going to be so terrible. Every day is going to be so hard. But then you do it and you're like, I actually feel pretty good. This is not a problem. And it just becomes who you are. And joining the GFDA, we've heard from people like, oh, I can't do like another thing. I can't add another responsibility in my workday, which I totally get. But what people find once they join is like, oh, great. Here are the first 5 super easy things to do. Just integrate those for the first couple weeks. Then or first couple months if you need to, then you bite off a little more. And like, sure enough, you're already down. Like, I know I've reduced my waste dramatically, probably about 40%, just by following these criteria, like the toolkit. And before, and now it's not even really that hard. I source differently, I dispose differently, I talk to clients differently. So they're like, oh, these are my 3 like low waste materials to purchase from. And it's great. So that's, basically what I'm saying is like, we would love for anyone to join at any point, because we know confidently that we have resources that could help you, whether you're brand new and haven't done a thing. No worries, don't be afraid of that. Like, we have tips for you. If you're really advanced, we have tips for you there too. So we will help you. It's not like you're signing up for something and we say, okay, good luck, I hope you do it, report back to us. We actually are like, oh great, you're here, now come into what we have created and let us help you.
That's very, very encouraging. What I'm hearing is that it actually you're creating some kind of a portal for designers and the likes for some kind of a personal transformation almost. It's like you have to change your habit, right? Like, the way you do your work, that you designers and builders, you have to kind of start shifting the way we look at what we do and do it differently. And as you said, you to start doing something small, one thing at a time. And it's like eventually down the line, you look back and you change the whole way that you operate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be, I'll be honest, it used to be that I would go into a project and say, okay, I think we have to demo the whole kitchen.
Mm.
Now it could be that we come to that conclusion, but I never start a project with
Mm.
that point of view anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like,
Mm-hmm.
what can we keep? Can we keep the cabinet frames? Can we repaint the cabinet fronts? Can we sand them, restain them? Do we need new appliances? If so, where can we donate them? It's it's just this, it is a shift, like you
Yeah.
said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
It's
instead of being like, great, a full tear down, I'm like, oh
mm-hmm.
no, never. Right. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of more fun when you don't start with that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It
a
takes
little
more
puzzle.
creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. It's always something that kind of bothered me watching, not just the design project, but like building projects when a lot of the real estate developers would just take a look at the house and I get that it makes financial sense for them to demo the whole thing and build a new and so that everything is brand new. But wait a minute, there's so many things that you can still use. Um, do you think, what is your visions moving forward? How do you think that this is where it's going? Do you think we are really making progress? And what is your dream? What is your vision for this organization?
Yeah. I do think we're making a lot of progress. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have a long ways to go. Like I have said a few times, I don't want
Yeah.
to deny the significance of how far we have to go. But yes, we're making progress in 2 very difficult years of COVID, every other distraction possible.
Mm-hmm.
We still have had 200 firms
Mm.
say, okay, this is what I want to do. We know that we are launching New York, LA, Nashville, Minneapolis. Those are 4 of the next 6 chapters to come in the next year. We
Yeah.
are having a big conference in November, in person. It'll be a hybrid, but we are doing in person this year in San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So there are real legs to what we're doing. We have a long
Mm-hmm.
ways to go, but every member that joins us is another voice saying, we want to do better because now is the time. Like we
Mm-hmm.
can't ignore this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am very grateful for the work that you've done so far and all the work that you're continuing to do to really make a big difference. And it's indeed a radical new path. And I'm really excited for you and I'm very grateful for you. So tell us how we can find you and you mentioned the Earth Overshoot Day. Tell me about the website where we can find that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
Sure.
your alliance first.
Yeah, sure. So again, it's called the Good Future Design Alliance.
Hmm.
Our website is thegfda.com.
Hmm.
We're on Instagram at the GFDA. And it's really easy. The best thing I would do is go onto our website. We have all of this information, what our mission is, who we are, our members page. We have a
Hmm.
dedicated members page so you can see who in your area might be already in the alliance.
Hmm.
And then if you want, you can just join right there. It takes, I don't know, maybe 90 seconds. And then we
Oh.
have a basic survey when
Hmm.
you first sign up, which is to help us get your baseline. So, it's like 10 to 12 questions of like, what are you doing in your life today? We don't really care. We're not going to judge you. It just helps us to know.
Right.
But so that's how you can find us at thegfda.com. And we'd love for you to join.
I can recommend so many designers and architects and builders I know to join your group and I can't wait to send them your information.
Oh, that's great. We would appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Thank you so much, Katie, for your time today and sharing your big vision with us. I'm really grateful.
Thank you
This
for
was
having me.
Izumi.
This was
Oh,
fun.
thank you. This was Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. Until my next episode. Thank